CA Gold connector video for AGW Plus cable. The following tools are necessary for the installation of the CA Gold connector onto the AGW Plus cable. A cycling crimp tool. PermAlert provides an ideal crimp master with several dies on the crimper. We use the .255 to crimp the outer ground and the .100 to crimp the inner conductor. Care should be used when selecting which die. PermAlert provides a sanding tool. The sanding tool is there to sand the outer polymer off the gold cable so we can achieve continuity. You will have to purchase a good set of a small diagonal cutter. Electrical tape. 220 grit emery cloth. And an ohm meter to check your insulation and continuity upon completion of the connector. PermAlert sends out a connector assembly in a kit which is tagged. It tells you what type of connector it is. This one is for the AGW and it's for the gold assembly or the AGW Plus cable. The following is the procedure. Taking your AGW Plus cable, you are going to pull back the plastic overbraid about 6 inches and hold it. And then you're going to come back about 4 to 6 inches and make several cuts so you know where to continue your cuts. Care should be taken to prevent any damage or nicking of the outer ground during this process. Once that's completed, you're going to take a small piece of electrical tape and you're going to secure the plastic overbraiding down to the ground to prevent unraveling of the plastic overbraid. Next step, you're going to very gently pull back the outer ground at the end of the cable, exposing the plastic spacer material and the inner conductor. At this point, you're going to use your sanding tool to go around the plastic spacer material and the inner conductor, and then you're going to rotate it clockwise to get it back into the ID of the cable. At this point, we're going to take our emery cloth and we're going to sand all the way around the circumference of the cable. Once that is completed, we can rotate counterclockwise the sanding tool out of the ID of the cable. At this point, we're going to hold back about 1.5 to 2 inches and push the end of the ground toward my left hand. And what that does, it creates an egg sac. And what we're going to do is we're going to come right in the middle of that egg sac, and we're going to remove or cut the ground care should be taken as to not damage the inner conductor or the plastic spacer material. At this point, we're going to hold the plastic spacer material and we're going to pull down about 1/2 inch. And then we're going to unravel that plastic spacer material and nip it at the base of the ground. So now, since I moved it down 1/2 inch, I need to bring it up 1/2 inch. Now, if you see you still have plastic spacer material there, go ahead and bring it back down a little bit and cut a little bit more of that spacer material. So when you bring it up, you should see a pocket, but you do not want that spacer material in that pocket. So I'm going to continue to cut this plastic spacer material off until I have an opening for my plug body to fit down into. At this point, there's a dielectric around the inner conductor, and we are going to attempt to put the inner conductor ferrule on the cable. But before we do that, we need to trim it at an angle. So I'm going to hold my cutters at an angle and cut. And what that does, it puts a point onto the cable. At this point, I'm going to come up from my ground approximately 3/8 to 1/2 inch and strip that dielectric off the end of the cable. You can see that plastic material has to be removed. At this point, I'm going to take my inner conductor ferrule. You want to inspect the ends to make sure that it hadn't been damaged or bent. So there's a flared side and a square side. You want to put the square side or the flared side to the cable and then get it started, and it'll slide right down into place. So right now, that's what you have. So you might want to clean up and square up your So right now I'm pretty well squared. The next step that you're going to do is you're going to put your threaded coupling ring onto the connector. Square shoulder first. The next thing you're going to put on is your ground ferrule. So you're going to slide it on, and it's going to slide right down into place. At this point, I'm going to use and open up my interconductor to open up the outer ground, and my plug body is going to slide right down into place. Just like that. Next step, you're going to bring up your outer ground ferrule, and you're going to adjust it until you have approximately about that much cable and push it onto the plug body. At this point, you're going to use your crimp tool. You're going to open it up you're going to place the cable in the 255 setting. So now I have something to push against, and then I'm going to push it onto the connector. At this point, I can see that I'm all the way up against the shoulder. The interconductor ferrule is approximately 3/16 on the outside. So now I'm going to come up to that bevel with a 0.100, which is the third setting on the crimp tool, and I'm going to lay it right in the landing up against that bevel and crimp. Then I'm going to perform a tug test to make sure it's a substantial crimp. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come up with the 255. I'm going to butt the shoulder, and then I'm going to crimp. And as you can see, it is a hexagonal crimp on both. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to thread up the threaded coupling ring. Now here, where the interconductor ferrule comes out of the connector, I'm going to trim it to where I have approximately 1/32 of an inch on the outside edge. So this right here is your finished connection. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to get your ohm meter. You're going to put it on a ohm scale. You're going to test it for continuity, and then put one lead on the outer housing, one lead on the interconductor, and your reading should be open. If you're getting a short, it means your connector is not good. So one lead on either the back side of the ferrule to the inner pin, or the threaded coupling ring to the inner pin, you will read open. The next step is the connection to the straight adapter. On the connector, you have these little points that come out that made up to the straight adapter. You want to make sure that they made up perfectly, and then thread your coupling ring over. If you're mating it up to another connection, same thing. You want to make sure that you made up your cable. You can see it's mated up right there. You don't want to have it like this where it's not mated. You want to make sure it is mated, and then thread the coupling ring. Now, to know that you have a good connection, you will not have any threads. You will not be able to see any threads. After commissioning, a shrink sleeve will go over both the connectors. So basically on the connector, after commissioning, the shrink sleeve will go over. You want to even it out, and using a hot air gun, you're going to heat that up until it shrinks.